Alright, the Russo thing. You're probably expecting me to talk about this last week, and I would have, but we just didn't have a lot to go on yet. And unfortunately, we still don't. As supposedly Russo and Conway are still writing the scripts, but now they've got Bruce Pritchard directing traffic and telling them what to do. Pritchard's reputation for playing politics does concern me, but any change is better than no change at this point. Now, are we going to get any revolutionary booking concepts from Pritchard? Probably not, but at least he's a wrestling guy. And they desperately need someone like that to balance out Russo. And if Pritchard can finally be that filter to weed out all the stupid crap that Russo comes up with, then this could be exactly what they need. As long as Russo is still writing the scripts, I don't think we're going to be seeing any major changes, but I do think we'll be seeing a lot of smaller ones. I'm just speculating here, but I think the booking will probably be more logical now. Hopefully they'll ease off on the overbooking and the stupid swerves, but we're not going to know for sure until next week. And I'm excited about that. I'm nervous about it too, but all we can do is wait and see what happens. Anyway, this was the go-home show before Bound for Glory, and I will say it was good, but it didn't feel like the final hype for your biggest pay-per-view of the year should, and there's a lot of things I want to cover here, so I'm going to try to get through these quickly. Bobby Roode and Kurt Angle had their final confrontation before the big title match, and this was well done. I did kind of roll my eyes when Kurt said that he never had backup when he won the world title. Really, Kurt? So, AJ and Tomko don't count? Main Event Mafia don't count? Immortal and Hogan, they don't count? Yeah, whatever. Still good final hype for this one, though. And I did like that they agreed that there would be no interference in this match, but I'll believe that one when I see it. Seems to me the last time someone promised something like that on this show, it didn't happen. One issue that I had was that we never really got that big money promo from Roode that I was waiting for. And this kind of goes back to what I talked about last week. We know he can deliver those. He's had a couple of them this year. The one on Jarrett, the one on Hogan. But he didn't really get one on Kurt Angle. His promo was good. It just didn't have that epic feel to it like Eddie's promo on Brock right before he won the title. That's what was missing here to really put this over the top. Regardless, I do think they've done a great job building up Bobby Roode, and if he doesn't win the title this Sunday, it'll be completely ludicrous. They had two nice tag matches that I liked. There was AJ and Rob Van Dam versus Daniels and Jerry Lynn. Good, enjoyable match, clean finish. I didn't agree with the heels losing, though, because they're both probably going to lose on Sunday. If anything, Jerry Lynn should have gotten the pin on Van Dam, but we don't really know how this is going to play out yet. Maybe they've got something else in mind for these feuds. There was an X Division tag match, which was also good, though once again, the referee sees stuff that should be a blatant DQ and does nothing about it. I don't know why. Austin Aries was easily the most over person in this match, and since Kendrick pinned him here, Booking 101 tells us that Aries will retain the title at the pay-per-view, which I hope is what happens, but I don't think Russo has ever actually read Booking 101. Maybe this will be a Pritchard call, I don't know. But they'd be idiots to take the belt off Aries so soon, especially to give it back to Kendrick, who really does not seem to be clicking with this Wizard of Oz gimmick. So those matches were good. After that, it kind of tapered off. Samoa Joe and Matt Morgan was too short. Joe jobs again, unsurprisingly. He attacks Morgan afterward, Crimson makes the save, and Joe challenges them to a triple threat. Joe's promo was effective, and I have no problem with that match, but couldn't you have done this a little earlier than the go-home show? It's your biggest pay-per-view of the year. Announcing matches at the last minute is not going to do you any favors. Something else that doesn't help is booking Joe like this. Joe just lost to Morgan in like 3 minutes, and now we're supposed to take him seriously as a threat to these guys on pay-per-view? That doesn't work. Ink Inc. and Mexican America had a promo segment, and for me, this was the worst part of the show. Wow, Mexican America, the worst part of the show. Who could have seen that coming? The segment felt rushed to me. When you have guys start their promos before their music even stops playing, that's usually a sign that they're trying to get this segment over with quickly. But all things considered, that might have been for the best. First, Hernandez immediately ruins the segment by talking. Ha-ha! Then Anarchia ruined it even more by talking. TNA, we've been over this. Giving these jokers a live mic just does not make for good television. Jesse and Shannon were somewhat better at least, but you really couldn't call this a good exchange. Then they had a brawl that, to be honest, did not make me anxious to see this match. Nothing against the Mohawk boys, but I don't know if they've got what it takes to pull a strong match out of Mexican America. I heard this match got moved to the pre-show this Sunday, and that was probably a good idea. Then Christina Von Eerie showed up. That was cool. I liked that. Looks like she'll be the equalizer, so the match won't have as much interference. Sounds good to me. So I'm expecting a title change here, but if it's on the pre-show, then maybe not. Not sure. But they need to get those damn belts off Mexican America, and they don't have a lot of options right now. So hopefully that'll happen here, and hopefully that'll just be the end of this feud. You're not going to get any great matches out of these two teams. 7 people involved now, and the best matchup you could make out of that would probably be Von Eerie and Sarita. You want to feud those two, go right ahead. But as far as the men are concerned, I say do the title change, then get Hernandez and Anarquia the hell out of there and move in the British Invasion. There was a knockout segment to hype the title match at the pay-per-view. Instead of having all 4 of the participants talk, the whole thing was about the Queen of all Mary Sue's Velvet Sky. Most of it was Karen saying, Velvet's a whore, she's trash, she's a skank, blah blah blah. The same trashy, misogynistic garbage we hear in every knockout promo now. Then Velvet says this is all gonna change when her and Karen are on an equal playing field. There are a whole lot of Jeff Jarrett jokes I could make here, but that would just be too easy. And once again, Velvet says she's gonna win the title, God help us all. And the other 3 women might as well have not even existed until the brawl started. I am not looking forward to this Velvet Sky title reign at all. I've explained my reasons many times, but it seems inevitable at this point, so we're just gonna have to suffer through it. Ken Anderson and Scott Steiner had a match. It was pretty boring, you know, because Scott Steiner was in it. Bully Ray was the enforcer, but I don't think he actually did anything, so him being there seemed kind of pointless. Then Abyss gets in the ring and accidentally hits Steiner with a chain in full view of the referee, and instead of calling for a DQ, the ref decides to allow this, because DQs are bad, I guess. And Anderson wins. Afterward, Immortal gets in Abyss's face and he finally turns on them. Unfortunately, that whole storyline got lost in the shuffle recently, so I really didn't care, and I'm not sure if anyone else did either. The main event was Bobby Roode versus Jeff Jarrett and Gunner. I had a good laugh when the match started with Roode getting a chair to fend off the heels and the referee told him he'd be DQ'd if he used it. Really? So, we're still counting DQs then? Why the hell didn't that happen earlier in the show? You know, when the referees saw all that stuff that should have caused DQs but didn't? Got an explanation for that?
This whole show is ridiculous!
The match was ridiculously short considering this is the guy who's about to headline your biggest show of the year. But Bobby Roode got the win, he looked strong, so it did what it needed to do. Now the final segment of the night was the Hogan-Sting contract signing, and this is where the real issues were. Last week, Hogan said that he'd give the company back to Dixie Carter if Sting beat him at Bound for Glory. I'm pretty sure that wasn't even mentioned until this segment. We never saw Bischoff's reaction or Immortal's reaction. We never saw any follow-up to it with Hogan or Sting. I don't remember the announcers even talking about it at all. So at 10:55, when JB said that the fate of the entire company was going to be at stake in this match on Sunday, I think it was the one and only time anyone said anything about that all night. It was almost like they were trying to sweep the whole thing under the rug, which was pretty damn strange considering that this was the stipulation they had spent the entire year building up to. Next, Hogan obviously did not intend to put that stipulation out there. He was horrified that he let that slip out last week. So, why didn't he try to get out of it? Because he could have very easily gotten out of it. All he had to do was not sign the contract, because the contract was what would make the stipulation legally binding. But instead of refusing to sign the contract, or maybe producing a new contract that omits the stipulation, he just signs it. With no arguments, no protest, no nothing. And by doing so, he has now made himself legally required to put ownership of the company on the line in this match when he didn't have to.
What the fuck?
None of this makes any sense! Why did he sign the contract? It's not like he had a gun to his head. There was nothing forcing him to sign it. He was screwing himself by doing this. He knew that. So why did he do it? Anyone? Anyone? Don't look at me. I don't know what the hell's going on here. No one does. Imagine you're in prison, and you're terrified that you might die in prison. You're playing poker with another inmate, and for some reason, you blurt out that if you lose this next hand, you'll voluntarily put yourself on death row. Are you then going to sign a contract that would waive all rights you have as a human being and legally require the state to put you on death row? No, you're not. And why? Because no one in their right mind would do such a thing.
This whole show violates everything about my journalistic integrity.
If Hogan didn't want to risk losing the company back to Dixie, then why did he sign the contract? Can you answer me this? No, you can't. In fact, if this made any sense to you whatsoever, then congratulations, your IQ is officially low enough to be counted in the digits on one hand.
You people are fools!
Was this an effective go-home show to sell Bound for Glory? Some feuds yes, some feuds no. The pacing was problematic. The main event really should have had more time, but once again, there just wasn't enough time available. Unfortunately, if they were trying to hype as many matches on the card as possible, then I'm not sure what they could have taken out. So it's kind of a tough situation. So now we move on to Bound for Glory. The card is pretty decent, and I really am excited to see Rude vs. Angle, but the whole thing has kind of gotten overshadowed by the Russo news, and we won't see how that plays out until next week. Hopefully we'll have a better product to look forward to from now on, so cross your fingers. I'll see you then.